talk to you about human trafficking. How many of you have ever heard of human trafficking? We're going to start off with doing an activity to see how well your knowledge is with human trafficking. So if you could go to this website. Y'all can work together. Julio wants to work with you.
It's okay.
Do you have a laptop? So I'm doing a presentation on human trafficking and what it is. And to start off, who's going to quiz? Can you go there? When you get there, you can start the quiz, and when you're done, can you raise your hand? Come look at it. You still taking? Who else is finished? I'm doing a presentation on human trafficking and what it is. And then they were doing an activity online to test their knowledge about human trafficking. And this is the website. Sure. How many people are almost done? Or are done? It's not bad. It's okay. Go with it. It is. Please accept it. Hello. You can walk through.
Welcome.
I'm doing a presentation on him. And then you say this. The back of the moment stuff.
So creepy. She's cool. Four. Are you gonna like film this like now and like show your kids when they like get adults and be like, oh, this was life was like when my kids were in high school. You should do that. Like just share.
Are you taking a tour? Are you almost done again?
It's dark.
Huh? Stay in here.
You gotta take that.
So I'm not gonna say right here. How many did you get?
Four.
Sorry, y'all like that.
It's still something that has to be consistent. Yeah. See what he's smoking.
You can smoke the smuggle that. You can smuggle the human trafficking is like
What if you kidnap them and smoke?
that's considered human trafficking. Because you know,
Well, that's. What's your It's your fatal like this. Is this like an experience? Business grades?
Yes, my senior project.
Oh,
I haven't graduated from high school yet.
I probably should have done it.
Let me know when you're done.
It was just like, that's the only problem. I can't like get my words. I probably got it now.
How many people got at least a
Probably
50
guessed.
on this
We probably saw it once here. How many did what?
Got it. Did you guess or did you know
I knew a lot.
something
We should
about
have.
something about human trafficking?
How'd you not know that?
Kind of inventory. But now I'm gonna say exactly what human trafficking is. Human trafficking is a modern form of slavery. It involves controlling a person and forcing them through fraud or coercion and exploiting the victim or for forced labor, sexual exploitation, or either both of them. Human trafficking strips victims of their freedom and violates of their nation's promise that every person in the United States is guaranteed basic human rights. It is also a crime. How would you feel if you were a victim of human trafficking?
Scared, probably.
Now I have a YouTube video for you to watch.
The United States is a destination country for thousands of men, women, and children trafficked from all corners of the world. But it doesn't get much attention, said John Morton, the director of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, and it should, because of the sheer inhumanity of the problem.
Once they understand what's really going on, that children are being forced to work in horrible abusive conditions, or girls are being forced into prostitution, or young boys are being forced into prostitution, that resonates with people. People are fathers, people are brothers, people are sisters. They get that there is just a basic wrong to this.
The U.S. State Department estimates that up to 17,000 people, primarily women and children, are trafficked to the United States annually. U.S. officials are trying to combat the problem by educating the public about the dangers and signs of human trafficking. Morton says prosecuting traffickers and dismantling their bases is a challenge.
Even when you do find the victims, you've got to build a case, and you've got to have victims who are willing to testify, and that's hard for a lot of victims. They're very, very afraid of their traffickers. Two, going after the sort of root causes in many of these countries.
Andrea Berton is a specialist on human trafficking and directs a website that focuses on the problem. She praises ICE's efforts, but she says more is needed to help victims.
That would be to improve our networks and communication with ethnic communities that tend sometimes to stay a little bit closer knit, and authorities don't feel comfortable maybe accessing their communities. But in fact, the better understanding we have of closer knit ethnic communities, I think the better we can find those labor and sex trafficking victims.
Another Washington-based advocacy group, Fair Fund, seeks to prevent human trafficking and sexual violence from destroying the lives of young people, especially girls. Andrea Powell is its executive director and says her organization sees about 1,000 cases a year.
One of the biggest challenges that we face is, with all of our outreach and advocacy, we're identifying young people who've been victimized, and we have very few places that we can take them that are really adequately prepared for an extremely traumatized child.
Berton and Morton say victims mainly come from Asia, Eastern Europe, and Latin America, and Morton's agency maintains contacts and offices in many countries in those regions in an effort to stem the flow.
We train a lot of law enforcement, foreign law enforcement, on how to tackle this problem, how to investigate it, how to work with us, because all of these cases end up involving transnational criminal networks that are moving people from one country to another.
Morgan says last year, ICE opened more than 650 cases involving human trafficking and made 300 arrests, the agency's highest number ever. Mariama Diallo, VOA News.
So this video will basically explain what human trafficking is further and explain how they handle cases when it comes to human trafficking. How many of you know where human trafficking happens without looking at this slide? What'd you say?
Africa.
Anybody else? Europe. Yeah. Well, according to my research and to that video, human trafficking happens all over the world. It doesn't exclude one country. In the U.S., on average, 14,500 to 17,500 people are trafficked to the U.S. annually. Most of them are women. And as the video brought out, they come from Asia and Latino backgrounds, and they are usually promised a career, love, or money. And how many of you would turn down an offer like that? Would you turn down money? Someone tells you they had an opportunity.
Without money.
So most of these victims are conned into coming to the U.S. because most of them come from poor countries where they need money, or most of them lack the feeling of love. People that are affected are the victims' families. When victims are human trafficking and they come back home, it affects how they cooperate with their family. Not only does it affect their family, it affects the government. The government spends tons of money trying to raise awareness and make groups for the victims that have been human trafficked. And not only does the government and the family, not only are those two affected, but so is the community. The community is scared to send their children out with different strangers or just to send them to school because it is a possibility that this child could be kidnapped and part of human trafficking. How to raise awareness. To raise awareness, the first thing you have to do is get informed of what human trafficking is. I know this presentation only told you a little bit of what it is, but it's more information on different websites that I'll provide on sheet of papers that you can go to find out what human trafficking is and where exactly it happens in each country. And once you're informed of what human trafficking is, it is best to maybe you could start a group in your community to raise awareness within your community, and maybe from your community you can expand to a bigger group. Now I have a rate sheet that's basically true or false questions that I would like you to answer. The copy is messed up. You can keep me alone. Is everybody done?
Yes.
Okay, so the first statement was only people who are U.S. citizens are victims of human trafficking. What do you think it was, DeMarcus? Sequoia. Did anybody else get a different answer?
Oh, no.
That is right, because human traffickers employ U.S. citizens as well. The second one, women are the only ones who are human trafficking victims. How many got true? How many put false? That is correct, because more than half of victims trafficked into the United States are mere children, and there are believed to be about as many male victims as females. Victims of human trafficking distrust law enforcement personnel. How many put false? How many put true? That is true, because often this is due to the fear of deportation. Victims of human trafficking blame themselves for the things that happen to them. How many put true? How many put false? That is actually true. Most often blame themselves for their predicaments. All immigrants coming to the United States are entering willingly. How many put true? Put false. That is false, because victims of human trafficking are smuggled in against their wills. And the last one is, after drug dealing, the second largest criminal industry in the world and the fastest growing is illegal arms trade. How many put true? How many put false? The correct answer is false. Human trafficking is tied with the illegal arms trade as the second largest criminal industry in the world alone, It alone is the fastest growing criminal industry behind drug dealing. Now that I have presented this presentation to you, do you feel like you know what human trafficking is enough to want to learn more about it?
Yes.
I had